Redditors share their worst Tinder stories. Girl from my high school matched with me on Tinder and invited me over for dinner. Didn't mention she had a kid, but I don't mind kids, in short bursts. So later on in the night she invites me upstairs and things start happening. Then her husband comes home halfway through and I've got to climb out the window in my undies and run to the car. I have a chipped tooth in the back and ended up slicing this guy's dick open from it. Blood everywhere. He took off pretty quickly after that. I deleted my Tinder account shortly after. Well, I've only gone on one Tinder date. We talked for a bit and I agreed to pick her up at Starbucks. She looked nothing like her pictures, but I thought I should be nice and at least hang out with her for a bit. We went to her place and the entire house reeked like cat pee. Like saturated. Then as she proceeded to show me her massive collection of animal tail butt plugs, she screamed at her chihuahua and smacked it right on the nose and without missing a beat just asks if I want to make out on the couch. I awkwardly sat down and pretended to look at my phone and made up that my grandma was dying so I could get the fuck out. She smoked some meth. Her dogs ate my wallet. Sounds like the beginning of a country song. Fresh off a breakup on campus, match with this really good looking girl who is talking pure filth. Obviously I'm just an idiot with a hurt heart so I don't question much. Head over to her place a few days later. She insisted I come over on a certain day at XXX o'clock. Usually I would have been sketched out, but it was the middle of the day on a Big Ten campus. What exactly could go that south? Half hour in her husband came home. I was being used in revenge plot. No more Tinder. So I met this girl on Tinder and went for a lunch date. We had a pretty good connection so we decided to have dinner as well. After having a few drinks one thing led to another and ended up back at my place. We hooked up and went to sleep. Middle of the night I wake up. She's intensely staring at me while she's crouched behind the bed. I asked her if everything is alright. She said yes and got back into bed. I thought little creepy, but probably nothing to worry about. She lays down to cuddle with me and she's wet. At the time, I was like damn, I must just be a stallion. Fast forward to the morning. She's gone and there's a wet puddle beside the bed. She peed on my floor. I still don't understand it. I had a bathroom, but maybe she just got lost and couldn't hold it. I did not hear from her again. I messaged a girl who wanted to meet up, so I go out to the coffee shop and she's not there. I ask her what's up and she totally admits to being a dude catfishing me just so he could check me out in public, and goes on a rant about what a shame it is that I'm a lesbian because he'd totally fuck me. I feel like the creepiest part for me was that he never once tried to get nudes or anything, which I'd at least understand the effort for. He just wanted to stare at me in public. He told me he's not gay but he prefers to have sex with men and prefers to be on the bottom. I asked if he was bi and he said no, I'm straight, I just like getting fucked in the ass. And then he asked me if he could pee in my butt cause he's always wanted to try it but he won't top guys so he can't find out how it feels. He's the head football coach of a private college in my state and that made it even weirder somehow. I went on a Tinder date a couple months ago on a Sunday afternoon. Met up with the guy around 3. He had a really good energy and was funny and complimentary. The place we wanted to go had a long line, so we went to another restaurant on the water for a drink and appetizers. He started slamming down mai tais. I had 1. He had 3. They were strong. Like, I was tipsy borderline drunk off of 1. The bar had a 2 mai tai per person limit, but he found another bartender to get his 3rd. He got drunker and started telling me he loved me, joking at first but getting increasingly serious. As we left he asked me to marry him. I kind of laughed it off, and was like maybe we take it slow, we just met each other. He got so mad he stormed off and left me on a street corner. Then as soon as he got home, it was 5 PM, he started texting me come over, and I miss you. He was 43. WTF. Sexted with this really hot girl after matching for about a day, and she starts getting all kinky with me. She then tells me she's actually a guy trolling me. I said joke's on you cause I'm bi. He unmatched. Not me, but I worked as a bartender for a while and heard a lot of horror stories secondhand. This one girl who was a regular came in and told me about an awful Tinder date she had. Not sure of the specifics, but it wasn't bad enough for her to not bring him home afterward. He leaves the next morning. She brushes it off as a one-night stand, and a few days later, her debit card gets declined. Odd, since she is a bartender herself at a fairly busy place in our city and is good about saving and usually flush with cash. She goes to check her debit card. Turns out there were a bunch of charges at Best Buy, Grubhub, a bunch of other stuff. Curious, she checks her credit card too. There she found a bunch of charges for streaming services. Netflix, Hulu, Sling, everything. She goes to confront the guy and finds out he deleted his profile. But she remembers a friend they had in common on Facebook. She reaches out to the mutual friend to try and track him down, and it turns out he did the exact same thing to that mutual friend. Not sure if what the outcome was, but she was out for blood after a mediocre hookup turned into a serious case of identity theft. It ended up being a double date with his mom and her occupied date. He told me that he and his mom were a package deal. I was mortified and there was no second date. Oh, I have one where I was probably the nightmare. I went on a first date with a girl from Tinder at a Cajun restaurant in Dallas. The restaurant was the Razoo's on 75. I had read recently about some stuff called kratom that is supposed to make you feel really relaxed and euphoric, and I had tried to make a tea from the recommended dosage the previous day, but I didn't feel anything off of it. So I wrapped a lot of it. Kratom is usually sold as a greenish, super bitter powder, up inside of bowls of deli meat, and swallowed those whole before the date. I then went to the lunch feeling nothing, until I met the girl and sat down, at which point I suddenly came to the realization that I was a few seconds away from projectile vomiting up all that kratom and deli meat in the middle of the restaurant. I excused myself, got up from the table, walked a few steps towards the bathroom until I began to violently vomit. At which point I covered my mouth with my hands, began choking on my own vomit as I sprinted towards the bathroom, leaked a trail of vomit all over the floor in a path towards the bathroom, then continued to violently projectile vomit into the trash can in the bathroom. I then spent a while to clean my face and wash my arms and hands, which were soaked in vomit. I then returned to the table and tried to survive the rest of the lunch date without dying of embarrassment. I felt like a huge arsehole and was really embarrassed. Talked to him for 2 weeks before we went out and no red flags, so we ended up going out to dinner. I said I hadn't been out in a while because I was trying to save money for a washer and dryer. He told me instead of saving for that I should save for a boob job. I didn't even know how to reply, so he followed up with, "No, it's not a bad thing. My sister and mom both had small tits and got boob jobs and they look amazing. This is all before the waitress even brought our drinks." I just got up and left. First date. She wanted me to get into a bar fight with the perfectly friendly guy who'd bought us a round of shots that night. Why? Because she found out he was a Scorpio. This girl I matched with just messaged to troll me. I was like, "Hey, what's up?" and she was like, "Don't talk to me unless you plan on fucking me with your 9-inch dick." I forgot what my reply was, but she obviously never messaged back. Then a week later I'm getting McDonald's and this girl was the one who handed me my food. She recognizes me instantly and just had this total look of fear in her eyes. I walked out of there so quick. That poor girl thought I purposely sought her out to confront her or something. I went on a Tinder date several months ago around October and it went really well. Girl had a job, wasn't crazy, and was cute, so we decided to have a second date. The only thing was that the second date was at her Thanksgiving party so she could introduce me to her friends and family, which I thought was a bit too early for. Anyways, I didn't have anything planned that day, so I decided to go. My job was to make the jungle juice for the party and it consisted of the usual Everclear, Hawaiian Punch, lemonade powder and ice combo I've used throughout college. It worked wonders and everyone got really drunk. Near the end of the party my date and her friends told me I did an amazing job on the drink. My date also mentioned that she really liked the fruit I added into there and that everyone at the party was trying to get some. For some reason, that did not sit well with drunk me, so I headed over to the alcohol canister to investigate. I grabbed my trusty ladle and started scraping the bottom of the canisters, and on one of the ladles I found some chunks of meat and pieces of ramen. That's when I realized that someone puked in the jungle juice.